playoffs. Wildcard weekend just ended. Heading into the divisional round this week, we'll kind of take a look back, talk a little bit about last week. Joining me as always is my co-host Owen. Owen, how are you doing? Pretty excited?
Oh, I mean, think about it. Ending a 20-year drought, right? I mean, how amazing is that for Washington with a rookie quarterback, generational talent, throw out all the accolades you can for him. Yeah, pretty awesome because I should know this, but I believe were they the only underdog to win?
I think
I
the
can't.
Texans were. I think the Texans were underdogs to the Chargers.
Okay, yeah, that's right. I couldn't remember where that one was seating, and I think sort of what was it the Vikings losing to the Rams. I couldn't remember from a seating perspective, but like they certainly were probably favorites on Vegas. And I think you and I had kind of chatted privately. Is Darnell? Did we kind of see who Sam really is? Like he's had a sensational year, but
He
yeah,
cost himself a lot of money these last 2 weeks. I mean,
sure
these
did,
last two
sure
weeks.
did, sure did.
Um, but I'm pulling for you guys this week. I
I
am
bet
pulling
you
for you
are.
guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I want the rubber match myself. I think that would be exciting. I don't feel good about the Lions because they are great, but then you have this thing in the back of your mind. It's the Lions. It's the Lions. They
It,
kind of get in their own way. I could see them. You could see the story in the headlines. Lions collapse, right? Favorites, they just kind of blow it. I don't know that anyone would be surprised. And I see all the folks with the brown paper bags on their heads like you grew up watching Lions fans do.
well, I mean, with the injuries on that defense, I mean, certainly their offense is, it's incredible. But with all the injuries on that defense, you never know, right? You never
Yeah.
know. One fumble, right, changes the game, and now it becomes, it's any given Sunday, any given Sunday.
Yeah, that's right. And listen, as long as Zane Gonzalez's hair is perfect, boy, he's gonna doink another win in. I don't know what that was, but man, that was like you kind of were like, hey, cameraman, take it off him. Give him I don't know what he's doing right now, but that's not something I don't think he wanted to be known for.
It worked though. It worked. It might be one of those team things, just get the team rallying around the.
Yeah, it was, my wife and I are watching and she follows football. So she was pretty into it, but we were just both laughing. It's like, yeah, nobody saying a word to him right now, right? Like you just see that to be a kicker in a moment like that, like again, they're all dealing with clutch stuff. You saw AJ Brown, right, reading the book on how to handle. I'm just like, I've been in some pretty intense corporate environments, but there's not an audience watching while that performance is happening. Just I don't know, it's pretty impressive.
Speaking of AJ Brown, that book apparently
Shot
is it
up.
something like 160,000% increase on Amazon since
Yeah, I think
the
I
whole thing
saw
happened.
it was like ranked 578,000th to number one
Yeah.
number one seller on Amazon.
That author, send
Yeah.
AJ Brown a nice gift basket.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
All right, well, let's jump into taking a look at some of the metrics from last week. So again, if you're listening and you have not set your lineups for the divisional round, go sign in, set your lineups. We have kind of our regular Fantasy Frenzy weekly tournaments going. We also have a 3-week collaboration with Fantasy Football Advice Network. We are running a 3-week league with them, open to everyone. You can win every single week, so there are prizes for each individual week. And then I think the top 5 each week, so that's 15 people the 3 weeks, and then the 10 top next, combined scores make the Super Bowl. And there is a nice prize there, $1,000 for the winner, plus a championship ring. The ring is pretty sweet. So if you have not signed up for that, go sign up. It doesn't matter if you missed week 1. Every week is, you have a chance at winning and qualifying every single week.
Now, am I eligible for the ring? I know I can't win money, but can I win a ring? Is that
I
possible?
believe you can win the ring.
I can.
I believe you can win the ring. Yep.
Okay, well, that's a game changer. I'm playing.
Yeah, yeah, you absolutely should.
Off camera, everyone, just so you know, I expressed my complete disgruntledness to Haibo of he's gotten me addicted to playing the game. I loved being roulette and setting that. I just enjoyed all of my own weekly leagues I was able to set with people. And now when you go in, come back next year, see you next year, and I'm just like, and I can't compete weekly. I'm not in the tournament of champions. I was jonesing for more smash up last week, and I just couldn't get my fix, but I'm coming now.
Um, Speaking of tournament of champions, I know some of you watching are probably playing in that. We try to mix it up a little bit. So I think week one was just kind of the normal week. This week we basically have them have a field card. I think you'd like this one. The field card is called Upside Down World. So everybody who's playing in Tournament Champions has to play with Upside Down World. They can't remove it. And what it does is it's basically the exact opposite of V for Victory. So V for Victory, you get a 25% boost if your team wins, and you get a 25% penalty if your team loses. Upside Down World is exactly the opposite. 25% boost if your team loses, 25% boost if your team wins. Sorry, 25% penalty if your team wins. So I know a lot of
That's
people
awesome.
were going in this week thinking about stacking Lions. That was a popular strategy throughout the season. Certainly, potentially a popular strategy this week. But if the Lions win, you take a 25% hit on your entire lineup. Like, that makes you think a little bit.
Yeah, I would stack the Lions because they're gonna lose.
Well,
But
yeah.
yeah, or you stack Washington, right? I think they're a very stackable team if you think, and I could see that being a shootout both ways. So I almost look at it the reverse, and I sadly do think Detroit this is kind of the end of the fun for Washington. But you stack Washington, and then you also pick up that bonus, right? Jaden's going
Yeah.
to score points. Brian Robinson, Eckler, you've got multiple running backs. You can do a lot of that lion strategy on them. And the way Brown has kind of come on next to McLaurin at wide receiver, you've got Ertz. You kind of have I don't know. I think a Washington stack could end up at the top this week, especially here in the way that flips.
hmm And, if you think the Texans are going to lose to the Chiefs, like, there are some players there that you can pick as well. Certainly, I think the Eagles are going to win, but, Rams have quite I would say the swell of support nationwide is probably with LA right now. So,
Well, listen, I'll just say a couple things. The Eagles are horrible and nobody likes them. That is obviously a fact, and everyone knows that. But I think you've got that Georgia connection. You got Stafford who played at UGA. You've got McVay who played at Marist High School here. I mean, I think there's just, and McVay is just, I don't know. I mean, they've been down, but he is a heck of a coach, and I just could see that. That's my fear. I have a feeling you were probably rooting pretty heavily against the Rams when that went down. I think you would have wanted the Vikings
I
there,
wanted
right?
the Vikings.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I,
not
I wanted the
surprised.
Vikings. Um,
Yeah.
Speaking of
All
Georgia, I
right,
mean,
I'm talking too much. This is a great
we,
conversation. Playoffs are amazing.
we
But
we have the entire Georgia defensive line basically. We have this
it's
that.
true. Yeah. Everyone's got SEC. You'll have Washington. It's like Alabama, Alabama,
Yeah.
Alabama. Yeah.
All right. So taking a look at kind of last week, nothing too crazy, but definitely a lot of interest on Puka. Puka did not have a you know crazy game, but huge. And I think Saquon was the number one overall.
Yeah.
Um, he had a good game. I mean, 120 some yards. That last, 70-yard touchdown with open field probably, messed with some people. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, overall, I think nothing too crazy here. I don't know. Oh, and anything that really jumps out at you?
Yeah. I was looking at sort of, I'll tell you, to me, to play Daniels as the fourth most in the quarterback is a little bit of a surprise, right? Like, I think it's almost you're kind of blindly looking at like favored teams and things like that, which makes it's a good strategy, but like I I I would have expected more of a Jaden Baker flip in that. But again, I
Mhm.
think people were discounting Washington's defense, and it sort of it messed it bit people. Not that Baker had like a bad statistical game, but it certainly wasn't what we'd seen when he won Mr. or hit Mr. Relevant, 4 or 5 times this year. It just wasn't that type of game from him.
Right, right. Um, so in terms of cards, um, a lot of people played Mr.
Love
Relevant.
seeing the new cards up there. I love it.
Yeah, a lot of the new cards,
Yep.
which is great. Mr. Relevant on Josh Allen, more or less, has been money almost every single week. That continued to
Yeah.
hit. Run CMC finally off the top 10. Finally off the top 10.
It's people
Um,
watching us. They finally have learned.
it hit once last week.
It sure did. It sure did. I saw that. Now I'm forgetting who it was. It wasn't
Josh Jacobs.
Bucky. It was Josh
Josh
Jacobs.
Jacobs.
Yep.
80 yards, 41 receiving.
Yep.
Almost exactly hit. Um,
Yep.
and then Saquon, everyone thought Saquon, everyone, everyone thought Saquon was gonna go off. Again, not a terrible, like 12 points is not terrible. 123 yards, but not what you were probably looking for.
Yeah, and McLaughlin, people were thinking that that's really what that shows, right? Is people just had a lot more expectations for the Bucks, and
Hmm.
Washington's just a lot better. It is what
Yep.
it is.
Yeah. And then now, if we look at the top 100, so I thought for the playoffs we would go top 100 instead of top 50. Actually, it was 102 because three people tied for the top 100 in terms of scores. This is across everything. So, across the Tournament of Champions, across the Fantasy Football Advice Network League, and Fantasy Frenzy. These are your top 100 scores, period. And but basically everybody had Derrick Henry. Almost everybody had Saquon. Um, Half the teams ran with the hellacious halfback. So definitely a big, we saw that dominant running back type strategy. Um, a lot of people went zero quarterback, to be honest, with the hellacious halfback strategy. So you see null up here quite a bit. But that definitely was we saw a ton on the running back side. What was interesting though, and what I really liked though, was that was not who actually won the overall. The overall was won by something that I always thought people were discounting this. Frankly, I was surprised not that many people played this combo over the course of the season. We talked about it, I think, in one of our weeks, the 30 or nothings. If you
Yeah.
hit, you get 90 points. And that's
Yep.
more than the hellacious halfback hurricane season. Like, even all of that together, maybe it's a little more consistent, but you get less points than if you just hit on all three and hit 90 with Josh Allen and Mr. Relevant basically being a gimme every week, you really only have to hit two. And the number one overall player, Pedon, hit on Derrick Henry, hit on Ladd, Josh Allen, and took it home.
Yeah. And Ladd went. I mean, what a day he had. Another UGA.
Yeah. Him and nobody else. I think the second receiver had 13 yards or something like that.
Right, right.
But yeah, I mean,
Quentin Johnson was a big disappointment. A lot of people had thrown that out there.
mhm. So Pedon with the overall top score, playing these. Same with the second overall top scorer. So number two, the best team, same thing, except with Jaden instead of Allen. So basically the same idea. Hit 90 points, got second overall, um, and then for the third overall, they went with a home field advantage V for victory stack. So really kind of playing up those home teams, and going for the win. I think other than Bucky, oh, and I
Hmm.
guess Cardi
Yeah.
lost.
But still,
Um,
nice points from Cardi. It was a great play, especially with Seabird on there.
Yep. So they got sideline Sage got third overall. So what that tells me is like, yeah, there does seem to be a lot of popularity around the running backs plus hellacious halfbacks, but the top three did not do that. And there are other, that's the great thing here. You have lots of different strategies. And I think even here, like 128, let me pull up SmashUp. And if we look at last week, so 128, I mean, look, 138, 140, 135, 142, like there are tons of people that outscored Pedon from a player
Yep.
perspective. The
Yep.
90 points is it's hard to beat. 90 is a huge, you know, huge thing to kind of throw in there.
Just a
So
little throwback, Haibo. I think we would call P-Don pretty card sharp.
yes, yes, we would. Who knows though? And next year, next year maybe we rebrand this show and yeah, we
I
you
don't
know,
know. It's catchy. It's catchy. I love it. Rolls off the
yeah.
tongue. I had to say that about 1,000 times before it did, but now it does. No,
Yeah.
congratulations to those guys. All great lineups. Really awesome.
Yeah.
Again, what makes Smash Up cool is the strategy beyond, you know, do I play all my players? I can leave players off. Do I play bad players that are going to, get impacted? I think it's really cool.
So yeah, definitely I encourage everyone watching, try out different things. Um, I have a feeling that there will probably be a lot of Detroit stacks this week. I think a lot of people are going to go that way. But again, if you play that, you're doing ride or die, you're doing home field advantage. Some of these triples and some of the other stuff can still outscore that lineup. And you are making a big bet. The Commanders' defense is a lot better than I think people think. So,
You wonder, are people going to feel that way after seeing what happened with the Bucks, right? A lot of people kind of stacked on the Bucks and then they got burned. So now do you stay away from Washington? I think you're right. I think a Lions stack is going to be pretty common. Again, to play contrarian, I would stack Washington.
yeah,
Stack Washington, root for Detroit almost. So, where you get a high scoring shootout, but then you get the 25% bonus because Washington loses.
yeah. And, the Lions, I was looking back at week 18, where the Lions, more or less, like you would call that a blowout, right? I think they beat the
Mhm.
Vikings 31-9 or something like that, by all accounts. But even if you stack the Lions for that, 31
Yeah.
points is not enough. You need like a
Uh,
50-point
yeah.
game, basically. And
And it can happen, but like again, people are a little smarter in the playoffs. Unless it's just a back and forth shootout, you're not going to risk getting someone hurt to score 51 points, right?
right,
When you're up 30 to nothing, 30 to 3 in that game, we're not seeing the starters in the fourth quarter. It's just not going to happen.
right, right. So we'll see. All right. Before we go, gut picks, 4 games. Chiefs, Texans. Who do you have?
Chiefs,
Chiefs. I do too. I do too. Eagles, Rams.
Eagles.
Eagles. All right.
I do. I think I will say this, Hybo. I think it's close. I think the Chiefs are going to just handle the Texans. I think I'll add that because I don't want to just sit
Mhm.
here and pick favorites. I think the Chiefs put it on the Texans and show why they're the Chiefs. They show up, they're not going to be rusty. I think the Rams hold it closer because of McVay and sort of the way he game plans, but I think the Eagles do beat them.
Um, Commanders, Lions.
You have to go first.
Lions.
Yeah, I am going to go Commanders because I'm a homer. Yeah, logically, I think the Lions win. But like I said, there's just that part of me where the Lions are the Lions and they've got some franchise stigma and they can't get out of their own way, and the Commanders win. I could just see that headline.
And then I think the most interesting game,
100%.
Bills, Ravens.
Man, on this podcast, probably about week 7, I talked about how scary I thought the Ravens were with
Mhm.
Lamar and Derek and Zay. Just kind of you have a weapon. I think the Ravens are going to beat them.
So I think Josh Allen has been just so disrespected.
I know,
It's
I know, I know.
I think the
I
Ravens are
want I
actually
want the
favored.
Bills to win. I want the Bills to win.
I'm gonna go with the Bills.
Yeah,
I think like they're gonna have a chip on their shoulder being the home team and being the fact didn't they like they beat the Ravens in the regular season by a lot.
yeah, yeah.
Um I don't know. I think the Bills come out and I think they handle it at home. it's also gonna be -6, or sorry, it's gonna be like 6 degrees, and Lamar is in like a heavy coat when it's 60 out. Like I don't know.
It's going to be an awesome weekend. Like that
Yeah.
much I know. Being candid, I wasn't disappointed with the wild card because Washington won. That was the close game. Most
Mhm.
other things, they weren't very interesting to watch. I didn't enjoy
Yeah.
it. Like, coming off some of the excitement of week 18 with Bucks and Evans getting his, the tie and Rice, like there was just a lot of like excitement. That wild card, I just kind of it was blah. It wasn't competitive. It wasn't good. I
Yeah.
think we see a flip this weekend, in my opinion, other
Nice.
than the Chiefs Texans, which means that'll probably be the close one and all the rest are blowouts. I think that one gets away from the Texans. The rest, I think people are going to be excited to watch the whole game.
Nice. Well, hopefully that's the case. It'll be a good weekend. Thanks, Owen, as always. We will
Yeah.
come back next week. We'll see how we did. And yeah, good luck to everyone watching, everyone playing this week. And yeah, we will see you next week.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. Good
All
luck.
right. Good luck.